Welcome back to the NutriMedical Report. Going to open lines on any topic, including health or geopolitics. But I'm going to start off with going over some of the news that I've just reviewed recently this morning. Boston bomber posted video on the black flags from Khorasan. Of course, we won't go into all the details, but this indicates a Muslim jihad kind of Armageddon kind of scenario. I want to hear your comments on that because this sounds very out of characteristic. The next topic I want to just touch on and to see what you're interested in calling in about today, 800-259-5791, is I checked with our gold suppliers, and we'll be bringing on a new financial expert with Ted Anderson, the CEO and of Midas Resources and also Genesis Network. And the 10 signs of the takedown of paper gold has unleashed an unprecedented global run on physical gold and silver. What's going on, even though the price has dropped, if you try to buy gold and silver, you're finding it very difficult indeed to find it, and the average wage is 5 to 6 weeks. So we see this happening at the same time that the government's printing money like crazy. They have not only they call it the bailing in policy, which has frightened people. We have the drop in gold, which has dropped about 26% compared to the 2011 peak price, and the drop in silver. So another major issue. Now, an excellent article by Paul Joseph Watson and Kurt Nimmo over at Infowars.com with Alex Jones. Why government should be the first suspect in any terror attack. Well, as a doctor and the examiner of the Oklahoma City Murrah building, that was my first major wake-up call back in 1995. When that happened, I can tell you with all the documentation we have here, the government is virtually the only one that should be considered very first and foremost whenever these kind of things happen. When you have thousands of officers and they try to claim there's no drill, and we have two obvious looks like patsies that are popping up. One's already dead, the other one's being chased down at 19 years of age. It's just like the Muslim modus behind the issue of 9/11, when we know that many of the people afterward, their identity was stolen in 9/11. They're still flying aircraft. Some of them were pilots. This whole thing is a scam, I call scamtastic scheme to cover up the real issue, which is the collapse of the bond market, which is about to happen. The real move toward a new financial system, which is a war between the nations called BRICS and the City of London, the Federal Reserve. Lord Evil, and I call it Evil Rothschild, sets the price of gold at morning tea in London and Greenwich Mean Time. So you have to start to realize what's really going on here is much more evil than you can imagine. And, of course, Alex has done his video Terror Storm some years ago, a history of government-sponsored terrorism, and you need to have a look at that. You get an idea of just how bad the situation is. Where I think this is going is the government's trying to push to see if they can have TSA agents at every sporting event, every shopping center. In fact, going anywhere in public will be like going to the airport. And they want to have body scanners, terahertz scanners, body cavity searches, etc., and want to make you very, very cowed to the officials. And they'll have lots of abuse going on, and basically not really protecting them, because if somebody really was determined to have a bomb in their body, unless you do an ultrasound or CT scan, you're not going to find it. So even a body cavity search or rectal exam or vaginal exam won't tell. Or swallowed a bag of small bags of explosives, etc., can't be picked up by the typical, if you want to call it terahertz machine. 7.0 quake hits the ocean off Japan, Russia. No damage reported yet, but we know that the epicenter was 58 kilometers or 160 miles northeast of Kurilsk, Russia, and 520 kilometers, 328 miles northeast of Nimuro, Japan. So we're seeing a lot of increased earthquakes. We had one last week. There was a 5.2 by Fukushima Daiichi. Massive radiation release. My radiation detector went up to 114 counts per minute. Highest I've ever recorded. Stayed up for 4 days at 4 to 5 times background. So they're transferring 26,000 tons of highly radioactive water from 3 depots underground that were leaking. The Japanese are doing nothing to correct this. Neither is General Electric, the international corporation, which, by the way, is one of the so-called czars under Obama, the job czars. I guess his job czar position is to make certain that all the jobs happen, but they just happen to happen in other countries. Little minor detail there. And by the way, the South American leaders are likely to back the Venezuelan Maduro in emergency meeting. They're not accepting the voting there. Turns out Maduro is a converted Muslim. The most likely nation to actually be next invaded by America, I think, is Venezuela. That's where the largest amount of nuclear missiles, like the Cuban Missile Crisis, is already stationed. China, where troop operations by Russia and equipment are there. And Venezuela is the primary launching point for a war against America from the south. So those who listen to Joel Skousen, who was regularly on the program, I totally agree with him that Russia and China have a long-term plan to invade America. And the economic data is not particularly good. The fact is not just not particularly good, is they note there's a disaster about to happen. I'm very proud of the senators that blocked this crazy gun registry, because it wasn't what it appeared on the surface, which is to close a few loopholes. It had horrendous penalties and that were irrational and in many cases unenforceable. So the gun registry is not the way to do it. It's simple. Simple solution is to have the county sheriff have the only records of people who are mentally ill. And if you want to buy a gun, you simply check with the county sheriff, make sure they're not on that registry. And you can cross-check through the county sheriffs, but they should not go to the state, not go to the federal government, and definitely not go to a place where it can be collected as a gun registry so they can then start seizing guns. And when you hear the comments by the Mexican government that they want to have the gun registry list, it's obvious that when they hand it over to the drug cartel people, they know which homes they can harass or go and abduct people, because they won't be shooting back. So, pretty remarkable. The next major story I want to touch on here, let's see. Okay, here we are. New H7N9 bird flu strain worries scientists, media. The fact is that this strain now is spreading. We're now getting alerts to update that it's making its way to labs around the world, and they're recommending BSL-3 minimum before they can even send the virus out. This virus is replicating and mutating 8 times faster than any previous virus, and they're testing it on, of course, ferrets, which have similar lung systems to humans in terms of the way the lungs respond to these viruses. And, of course, the new target from Obama is your FedEx and UPS packages, believe it or not. Obama administration is demanding the nation's 2 biggest shipping companies police the contents of American sealed packages, and a FedEx spokesman is warning the move has a potential to threaten the privacy of all customers that send or receive packages. So now the government has a crosshairs on tracking every package. Probably what they want to do is X-ray them or do bomb sniffing or God knows what else. And criminal charges could be coming against carriers, even though the government has not alleged any deliberate wrongdoing by the companies. So FedEx spokesman Patrick Fitzgerald said the company has a 40-year history of actively assisting government crackdown on criminal conduct, but he told WorldNet Daily this probe was very different from the start. In quotes, what is unusual and really disturbing is because clear to us that FedEx was being targeted to some level of criminal activity as it relates to these medicines that are being shipped from pharmacies, and we find it completely absurd that it's really not our role. So they're wanting to have them actually act as a police state, just like they tried to convert the medical profession and nursing profession to white-coated spitsnots medical officers and the global top-down communist collectivist control of Obama and his communist administration. Anybody who doesn't understand that that's what's going on here, when they're now going to start tracking every package that comes through, and of course this comes right after the phony ricin and the claim that it came from a mentally ill person in Mississippi. This is the same kind of garbage that happened back in the time of 9/11, where right afterward they had U.S. military-grade anthrax that was circulated and sent to senators and the Senate Hart Building. So, again, the government's back at it again, and they always do this when something major that they're trying to do or cover up. What's happening right now is we're tilting on the edge of a financial disaster that's by design, so they create a new financial system and take all of our wealth and put us into a matrix. Back in a moment, 800-259-5791. First hour, what you can take for a little boy coming up to visit his grandparents in California from Ecuador. The very first thing on the top of the list is Nutridyne, because the rate of neonatal hypothyroidism is gone up 400%. The rate of thyroid nodules in children and adults is 800%, including benign and thyroid cancer. The thyroid gland, of course, makes T4, which is a prohormone, and T3 The converted form to reverse T3 literally blocks thyroid function and suspends metabolism. What does T3 do? Well, it needs diatomic iodine and selenium in order to remove the 5' deiodinase enzyme from T4 to make T3. T3 is a lock and key to turn on the metabolism of the mitochondria. And the mitochondria generate through the Krebs cycle ATP and NADH, the high energy molecules. So the idea is that if you take Nutridyne, you take things like cell detox glutathione and Nutritrala, Regenerex. If you're taking things like Arkelar Max and Liquid Zeolite, you'll pull out the heavy metals and the radioisotope molecules, including uranium and etc. The issue of diatomic iodine is very remarkable. When people say that they, quote, measured and found toxic levels of iodine, one of the comments made earlier, it's not possible to do that. You can take an entire bottle of Nutridyne, it's not going to be the same as potassium iodate or any other form of iodine, because the body bioconverts it to the diatomic form in order to have all kinds of biological action, including making new mitochondria, coating the phospholipid layer of every cell, activating the perikaryon of nerves to grow, allowing cells to differentiate and create new synaptic networks. There is no comparison between things like potassium iodide or other forms of iodine, including Lugol's iodine, iota caps, etc., and diatomic Nutridyne. It's a completely different technology. So, John, when you're using this without telling the secret technology that you use, it's very particular and it requires a lot of energy, Tesla-type technology. And the effect when we ship it over to our missionaries in India and elsewhere, Africa, we're able to see the reversal of serious illness, including malaria, viruses, measles virus, parasites, worms. I mean, you name it, it's amazing. And mitochondrial function basically is being degraded in the northern hemisphere now, and it's going to start transferring to the southern hemisphere because they're detecting these radioisotopes across the equator to Australia and New Zealand. So when people think it's only a northern hemispheric problem, they're wrong. Can you tell us a little bit about the amazing technology and just how difficult it is to make diatomic Nutridyne?
Yes, Dr. Bill. It is very difficult. We were granted a patent for the process. We did discover that. It was our idea, and when we pushed it forward, it took quite a bit of work to develop it. It took about 3 years to come up with the method and everything. But we knew deep down inside that there had to be a way to do this, and we worked at it, and the patent was very difficult to obtain as well. They don't give those things out lightly, and it was not until that study from India arrived showing the great results we had with malaria that the U.S. Patent Office was finally convinced it really does work, and it is really worth the effort, because a lot of people were very skeptical of the Tesla process of separating this molecule to the atomic state. It just seemed so foreign that a lot of people couldn't grasp that it was possible. I think, Edgar Casey was way ahead on a lot of things he did. I think he might have been ahead in this technology, because it certainly is nothing like any other process.
Well, one of the things he did actually, they call him the sleeping prophet, because he was actually in a sleeping state when he did this. What people should understand is there's a portion of us that is not bound by the dimensions of time-space. Right. And those that are highly intuitive or are gifted, like Edgar Casey, are seeing forward into a realm where the physical body is tied to a specific time-space dimensional coordinates, but the soul isn't. And there's also a storehouse of knowledge out there, which he reached into. I call it the Heliarchion, which is the storehouse of all knowledge, and it's basically available to those that are intuitive. So we're not, in a sense, when Albert Einstein or great minds discover things, they're almost rediscovering things that have always been there in this storehouse of knowledge. And this time needs this molecule. Yes. With the release of Fukushima Daiichi radiation, with the likelihood of a nuclear war in the Middle East, because if this gets out of control, it will go nuclear pretty quick. at least with Israel releasing weapons. We know Saudi Arabia and Iran have weapons. Syria probably has nuclear weapons, even though they shut down the North Korean plant that was built there, and it was damaged and destroyed by the Israelis a few years ago. But we shouldn't give any misgivings. The fact that we've allowed North Korea to continue to prosper and we haven't cut off the head of the snake is just our stupidity and gutlessness. And there's no time for negotiation anymore. We need to tell the Chinese to back off and let us do what we have to do. But we also have to protect ourselves. Fukushima Daiichi is equivalent to a Third World War without the cities on fire. And the problem is the degradation of people's genetics because they're not doing anything to sequester and to filter these out of the water supplies of all the cities, to prevent it from getting into the roots of plants and trees and vegetables, for bioaccumulation in animals and animal products like cesium-134, 137. We know that cesium, for example, in gerbils and other animals causes breast cancer, but radioiodine is probably the most damaging and nastiest of all of them because its effects are pretty immediate. You shut down the mitochondria, your immune system fails, and then you start dying of infections. So radioiodine is one of the most nasty because it shuts off your mitochondria. So you've got to take nutriodine to get rid of the radioiodine. You have to also take nutriodine to build up the immune system, mitochondrial energetics to counteract the radiation. And the radiation-induced free radicals caused by alpha, beta, and gamma radiation effects on cellular function in mitochondria. So it does a number of things. It rescues mitochondria, it makes new mitochondria, it displaces radioiodine. So it's absolutely essential if you're trying to protect yourself. And if you're not taking nutriodine now, you're going to bioaccumulate radioiodine and gradually degrade your mitochondria. And like I said before, I looked at the National Geographic magazine today. It has a little child on the front of the magazine and said, this child, can he reach 120 years of age? Well, with the current environmental status of the world, not likely unless he lives in a bubble. What's happening is human biology is being affected. And, for example, human fertility, one of the main reasons that you're going to see a major drop again in human fertility is the effect of radioiodine and other isotopes, GMO food, stacked vaccines, etc. And radiation from Fukushima is the number one hazard for the Western world now. And, by the way, this will cross the equator. There's major streams that are trans-equatorial in the upper atmosphere that carry 300 times the water of the Amazon River. And that means the radioiodine and other isotopes have already been detected in the southern hemisphere. So everyone out there needs to be on nutriodine now. Now, if you haven't been taking it for the last 2 years, which we have, and everybody that listens and has sense, we have specials on always, and we're sending flats over to missionaries to help fight everything from cancer to major infections. But this is the year when a major plague is a virtual certainty, airborne plague. As I mentioned before, except for the first hour on Friday, you can call in on any hour if you have an appropriate question directly related to what we're talking about. Ryan, we're working on some new formulas that are coming down. One of the ones that will be launching here sometime in 2013 is a new I formula I call I, lowercase c, IC, which will replace. Right now, we tell people to go directly to our Cansey distributor, which because we had major problems with supply there for 3 months, we decided to hand it over to Leslie. When we're constantly upgrading our formulas, so when people look at old videos, no material, they need to go back to the most current information if they want to know what I'm recommending at the time, what works best, and what things help. For example, if we have someone that has a woman that has menopause, first thing that they need is to take hormone synergy and xenoestrogen detox, because it's going to move the abnormal toxic estrogenic molecules, and hormone synergy will rebalance the hormones. We recommend that most people that are getting hormonal imbalances, if they have chronic fatigue or thyroid dysfunction, they need to take thyroid and adrenal, so they should be taking mitothyroid and adrenal support. If you're having vision problems, we recommend you take Vision Max, and also take the protectant anti-inflammatory cell defense and the free radical protectant Nutritrala and cell detox glutathione and Regenerex, because there's free radicals in the eye. And if there's any diabetes, then strongly recommend you take diabetoline max and berberstatin. The berberstatin is very important for normalizing peptides and lowering insulin resistance. The Regenerex is a particularly good combination formula. Maybe we could start with that because the free radicals are a big deal. We know that if you have any neurological problem, including vertigo, we talked about that in the first hour, taking cell detox, glutathione, Nutritrel, and Regenerex are essential if you're going to stop free radicals, which affect the hair cells and the balance mechanism of the vestibular labyrinthine system in your middle ear. So let's talk about Regenerex. What's in it? It affects the NRF2 gene, the SOD, glutathione peroxidase. It's a NRF2 activator. What's in Regenerex? And, of course, it has an effect that changes antioxidant protection that lasts for several days rather than just a few hours. So what's in Regenerex, Ryan, that helps, say, balance mechanism or neurological?
If anyone out there, Dr. Bill, has ever bought a greatest hits album, which I know most of you, probably have, and you're like, oh, those are the best. All the greatest stuff, none of the fluff, right? And, that's what Regenerex is. Regenerex is a combination of methylated resveratrol that you get in Anti-Age Max. It's your green tea from Green Tea Supreme. It's the curcuminoids that you're going to find in the Cell Defense. And then it's the sulforaphane glucosinolates that you find in Malignoblock, all rolled together with the enhancer bioperin. So you get basically this amazing influence on a pathway known as NRF2. And as you just pointed out, this pathway is responsible for cellular balance when it comes to inflammation, detoxification, as well as stimulating our own antioxidant production. So when people are asking, like, what's the best thing you can do to protect yourself? Well, the best thing you can do is make your body be really good at defending itself. And so instead of just loading up on one particular antioxidant, what science is saying is you'd be better off letting your body just have the tools it needs to generate its own antioxidant and to do its own defense mechanisms and to be able to regulate its own cellular balance. And that's what Regenerex is all about. So everybody should be taking one of those again, flat out. No doubt
and
about
by the way, that taken with Nutritrel, especially diabetes, any inflammatory condition, autoimmune condition, any toxic condition, you want to take Nutritrel and cell detox glutathione. Let's talk about these for a minute, because Nutritrel is the first and only long-acting alpha-lipoic acid in the world. The cell detox glutathione is the S-acetyl form, which is even better biodynamics than even IV glutathione. We used to give IV glutathione in our hyperbaric oxygen clinic in Denver, and this is even more powerful. We know that intravenous glutathione can reverse Parkinson's disease. Dr. Perlmutter has a published YouTube video on that. So tell us about these other ones, because I tell people that it fits in so many different protocols for neurologic, toxic, and even trying to get rid of stealth pathogens, because when you start killing them off, you're going to get a cytokine storm and free radical surges. So if you're removing toxins from the body, you've got to give your antioxidant systems a real boost. Or if you've had previous exposure like firefighters to toxins, or you're recovering from alcohol, I tell people, if you want to recover from a hangover, CoQ10 Supreme, ubiquinol, B12, superfolate, methylation enzyme activators, samethyl, and of course you want to take your enzyme protectant, cell detox glutathione, Regenerex, and Nutritrella, and bingo, changeo, bye-bye hangover.
Yeah.
It does it within a half hour, 45 minutes.
Good advice, for a for a Friday afternoon. And
toxic hangover, yeah.
Yeah, the cell detox glutathione, though, you're right. As the body gets worn down over and over again, and it really starts not recovering very quickly, it stays in a state of inflammation chronically, there's a lot of people out there that really need to enhance their protection, and that's adding directly cell detox glutathione. There's lots of choices when it comes to glutathione on the market. There's very few that do anything for people. They basically, a lot of them are not absorbed. They simply don't have the stability. They fall apart, if you will, because glutathione is a combination of 3 different substances, and it falls apart before you can absorb it. And that's the benefit of using this product. It will not fall apart before it's absorbed in the gut and can get in intracellularly to influence those levels of glutathione.
Right. And by the way, it's not equivalent to people saying they're going to take undenatured whey. This is thousands of times stronger than just taking undenatured whey. The same way as we have the only CoQ10 Supreme that doesn't crystallize, and the most powerful CoQ10 Supreme, ubiquinol. Same with our oils. Our Omega Supreme is made from anchovy and sardine in Norway, processed on the ship, so it never goes rancid. Our Omega 369 is the top quality. You can never find anything better. And the Omega Supreme krill is the only one with proven astaxanthin in it. All the other competitors do not have astaxanthin in any consequential level that's consistent. This is really important to understand. If you don't want to take, quote, a vitamin where you're reading, the label is not going to heal you. It has to be the actual biological molecules at a pharmaceutical grade that are guaranteed to actually be in a stable state, deliverable, transportable across your tissues to the target organ. Same way as, for example, hypertension. Most people don't realize if you've got heavy metals in your body, you got to take Killer Max. If you're trying to relax the vascular bed, you need Supernox. If you're trying to prevent oxidative damage to your artery walls, you need to take Neovasc to get rid of VLDL3 and small particle HDL, and antioxidants like Nutritrala, cell detox glutathione, and Regenerex. And then you need to kill off the nanobacteria. You're going to see things like Berberstatin helps that with the gut. It's replaced our GastroCleanse, the Berberstatin. Berberstatin helps to normalize gut peptides, such as the cholecystokinin, and the peptides like TRH from the argentifin cells in the upper small bowel, the jejunum, that regulate peripheral deiodination of thyroid and your fatty acid metabolism of your adipose tissue, including the omentum around your abdomen, inside your internal organs, and also peripheral fat around your central body, which is what causes diabetes. So diabetes is pretty easy to reverse if you're taking Nutritrala, Diabetes Max, and Berberstatin. And when you're trying to deal with it, it's a combination of what I call the palette of really high-quality nutraceuticals. We can paint a wellness pathway that's going to get you out of trouble. Same way as people that have depression, we tell people, first off, take superfolate, power-methyl B12, methylation enzyme activators, Sam-methyl, and our BH4 biopterin. And most people, their depression is gone in 3 to 5 days. There's no need to take anything that's a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. These are toxic, dangerous drugs with wrong-headed philosophy of how the drug works and how it's going to correct the problem. And it doesn't take into account compensating mechanisms in the brain or the toxicology of blocking a serotonin reuptake inhibitor enzyme pathway. Calm Mind is a combination of myoinositol, suntheanine, L-theanine, and GABA. And it's probably one of our most popular products now because people buy it by the flat. They don't ever want to run out of it. I call this better than booze, better than MJ, Mary Jane. There's nothing like it. It's not going to make you high. It doesn't impair you. You can drive a vehicle or a helicopter. You can drive a plane. You can operate heavy machinery. You can actually float right through the day in your Zen moment and keep your autonomic nervous system down so it'll stop flushing along with our hormone synergy and our vein away. That's how amazing it is. So Calm Mind fits in a lot of different ways, from anxiety to dysautonomia. Hot flashes. Back in a moment. Just to label one structure in the cell that's being attacked more than any other, I would say mitochondria. And if you look at energetics, we talked about a nutriodine before, but you need to take Anti-Age Max, Nutritrala, and Supernox. They work on all these complex genes supporting the mitochondria. Ryan, can you talk about this for a minute? Because mitochondrial support is really important. Many conditions are actually mitochondriopathies. And the best model, for example, for aging is mitochondrial functional disorder caused by 5 primary genes, which I posted up on Down syndrome. I've consulted with genetic experts and trying to help them do more advanced testing using organic acids and gene tests, not only on Down syndrome but other genetic disorders. And if we start approaching everything, including cancer and autoimmune disease, as a metabolic problem, primarily rather than, quote, immunological, the immunology follows the metabolism, just like the sugar metabolism of a ketogenic alkalinizing diet. It's good for both cancer and autoimmune disease. So let's talk about mitochondria. Anti-Age Max, which is the dimethyl resveratrol, Supernox, it has arginine and actinose, etc., and the Nutritrala, the only long-acting alpha-lipoic acid. These are essential if you're going to protect your mitochondria.
They are. They protect the mitochondria, and they enhance the mitochondria's ability to function. So the term is mitochondrial biogenesis. When you use these 3 formulations, they trigger a pathway in your body that's triggered when you exercise. It stimulates the production of not only more energy, but also new mitochondria within the cells. So if you want your cells packed with more energy-producing, substances, or I should say organelles, then this is the way you can do it and enhance what you're doing. If you like to go to the gym and work out, by using this triad, Nutritrala, Anti-Age Max, and Supernox, when you use this triad, it stimulates your body, and it really thinks it's doing more like an hour and a half at the gym, and you get the energy. You don't get the crash at the end of the day. I love people who are like, oh, this X amount of hour energy drink really helps. It's like, you know what? It's faking it. You can get through that day or the next day, but pretty soon you'll realize you don't have the mechanisms necessary to produce your own energy, and you are going to be in big trouble. Well, you can totally change that by using this triad, and this is a long-term positive thing to do for your body that protects you from the progression of diabetes and cardiovascular disease and neurodegeneration, because those are all critically coupled with mitochondrial function.
Exactly. One of the other things is detox, Keeler Max, and this whole process of, tell us what's in Keeler Max, why it's so important for vascular disease.
Mm-hmm. So everybody, Keeler Max is a really neat and easy formulation to use for an oral, so just swallow the pills, chelating formula. We're all bombarded by all kinds of heavy metals. People hear the terms mercury and lead and aluminum and arsenic and so forth. These are all building up in our body, and they're not just sitting there benign and being, if they reach a certain level, they start stimulating inflammation and challenges to our body over and over, and as they build up, they become a real problem. So when you use Keeler Max, you can really bring down a lot of challenges. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Dr. Bell.
Yeah, it's very, very powerful for vascular spasm. One of the things that we're concerned about is an airborne plague, and I tell people to stop cytokine storms. We have our Nutriodine, we have our Power C. One that people often forget is that MyCell D3, Myco D3 is very, very powerful. The MyCell D3. Yes, we have a caller. Your name and where you're from. Yes, okay. I thought I heard our technician give me a shout. I thought there may be a call. So Ryan, the Green Tea Supreme, tell us about that and what makes it so powerful for not only burning off calories but also blocking pathogens. And we know that if you take an equivalent of 3 to 4 of the capsules a day, the incidence of prostate cancer is virtually zero in studies that were done in Japan. By the way, long before Fukushima. So the Green Tea Supreme is very powerful, has some amazing effects in terms of antiviral, weight loss, anti-cancers. It works very good for blocking cancers of all kinds.
Yeah, there's a lot of green tea on the market, and most of it is very cheap, solvent extracted, not necessarily good stuff for your body. And what you're looking at with this formulation, the Green Tea Supreme, is known as the Indonesian water extracted green tea. So it's a very pure formulation. It gives you those beneficial ECGC compounds that you need that help with the metabolism in the body, but also the antioxidant protection in the body. So each one of these capsules is like drinking 12 cups of green tea. And, being able to get these polyphenols in your body are a huge advantage at knocking down inflammation and oxidative stress. But at the same time, getting you that thermogenic activity. When you start taking 2 to 4 of these a day, you'll notice when you're going and doing your walking and your exercises, the body wants to start to perspire more and get those toxins out. But you're speeding up your metabolism and doing it in a way that's not some just caffeine-induced thing. There's a very small amount of caffeine in the material itself. It's actually doing it for these other compounds.
It's also very powerful anti-cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the anti-cancer effect of malignant block, malignant rest. Just recently I had a consult where the gentleman had thyroid cancer surgery, and I recommend he take malignant rest, at least a half a packet twice a day before he gets his radioiodine after the surgery. What it does is soften the tumor up, block the sugar metabolism, increase the kill ratio of the radioiodine that he's going to receive. We have some amazing weight loss supplements too. One of them is LipoFlush, which is probably one of the most powerful things to mobilize fat out of, even if you only have 5 to 10 pounds, but it's in the wrong place, male or female. You want to lose that weight, LipoFlush. We also have some amazing sleep medications. We have the melatonin TR, which is 1 milligram immediate, 4 milligram slow release. We have the Men's Max, which is going to release male hormone, combined with the hormone synergy, etc. These will change the body metabolism dramatically, so that it releases male hormone. And we also recommend a combination. We have a combination special, by the way, Men's Max Enhanced for Men and Supernox, which is very important for releasing the normal circulation in the as they say in Monty Python, the naughty bits, to improve we call ED problems or erectile dysfunction. These are a really big deal. If you want to use something natural, you're not going to have the dangers. Same with anti-inflammatories. You want to use Inflamex. The Inflamex, of course, is going to be a natural anti-inflammatory that won't block collagen regeneration. And you simply take 2 Inflamex 3 times a day. You may also take Cell Defense, but the Inflamex is not going to block collagen. So if you're trying to heal a joint, you want to take Inflamex and then take Collagen Max to regenerate the glycosaminoglycans for the cartilage, the connective tissues around it, the Collagen Max, will regenerate elastin to increase the elasticity, and hyaluronic acid to wipe out wrinkles and restore the normal levels of hydroviscous layer of fluid in the joints. So it's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, these formulations, they just make such a great difference in people's lives. They can see the difference. Products like Collagen Max and how it works on the outside of the body, but they're so tremendous at what it's doing on the inside at the same time. I like to, quickly say, when you're talking about the weekend and dealing with stress and relaxing, you Calm Mind, we talked about it earlier, but that is a formulation that is so important for most people. You've got to control your stress. You've got to be able to deal with anxiety and do it in a way that you're not sedated and non-functioning. And Calm Mind is really amazing at also controlling carbohydrate craving, sugars, as well as alcohol and drugs even.
And that fits perfectly with Glycemix, which has NC2, which will have separate. It actually blocks carbohydrate metabolism. And if you're trying to do meal replacement, say for an athlete or someone that's elderly, or someone just wants to skip a meal, Ageless and Life Support combination is great. Or a little bit of Ageless and Glycemix is a great combination. And the better than juicing product is NutriComplete, which has not only the probiotics, it has the rice and pea protein, VegaPro. It really is pretty amazing. The NutriComplete will have all the juicing products, including goji berry, the highest antioxidants, and digestive enzymes as well. And that's another thing, is our digestive enzyme works at a broader pH range than any other companies. It has the glutenase, so that although you may cut out bread to cut out gluten sensitivity, because for every person with celiac, there's dozens of people that have gluten sensitivity, but it's pretty well ubiquitous. It's everywhere, from condiments to God knows where. And if you want to get rid of that gluten, you simply take a gastrozyme before your meal, and the glutenase will remove that, so you don't get a sensitivity reaction. So it's a much more logical way, a more rational way, a way that actually works. Same way if you're trying to improve brain function, brain power, which is vinpocetine. Increases metabolism. We use it along with our cognition, ignition, synaptin. And if you want to remyelinate the nerve fiber tracts in your brain, Neurogen, which is DHA, and NutriFos, and our Omega Supreme Krill, which protects the brain from oxidative stress. So, we have protocols that work, and when you start taking them within days to weeks, your health, your life, and your pathway to wellness is totally transformed. If you have questions, you can consult anytime by email if you're not a customer yet, by phone if you are a customer, and I will respond to health professionals and people around the world. It gets a bit difficult at times to keep up with it, but I do my best. Appreciate all your support out there. We'll be back in a moment with hour number 3. We'll be talking with John Moore, the latest update, a review of what's going on in Boston, and Morrison with the science.